Oh yeah, hello there, world of tankers, and welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Droodles Blitz, and in front of me, we have the FV215B 183. And, as many of you who have been watching the channel have known, this is a vehicle that I've checkered past with. I hate going up against it, but it's also one of my most played tanks. In fact, on my main account, it is my only vehicle that is close to 3,000 battles, mainly because when I first started playing this game, this was the first vehicle I got my hands on when the line got released, and yeah, I was basically the average 183 player. Since then, I haven't really played in it, but because I spammed so many games in it back in the day, yeah, I don't know if I'm ever going to pass that battle count. But a little while ago, I made a video ranking my 183 to level 50. This cost me a ridiculous amount of XP, a ridiculous amount of credits, and battles to do. But not only have I ranked the 183 to level 50, but now we have also gotten my 183 to 95% on gun marking. So we basically have 100% completed this vehicle. We got the 3 marks, we got the level 50, it's done, which is obviously pretty dang sweet. So in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing some of the battles I played in the 183 throughout this 3 marking experience. I'll be honest, it wasn't a very enjoyable set of battles. We had some games that were fun, and then we also had some battles that just really weren't enjoyable at all. The thing about the 183 is that it's just so easy to not have a good game in it, right? Just because this vehicle does have an overpowered gun does not mean the actual capabilities of the tank are anything groundbreaking, right? You can deal a lot of damage, but at the same time, it's so easy to just make one misplay, get caught in the open, and your whole game's over. So, starting off in this battle, I'm being a little passive, right? We got the enemy Felice, and, alright. We got the M6 show pushing up. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit in this bush here. This position actually gives me cover, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to load a standard HE, and just take 350 off the enemy WZ. I have learned that if you can't pen anything, just load HE. The standard high explosive on the 183 does the most damage. So because of that, I can just splash whatever it is quite reliably for 400 to 500 damage. Now because we're shooting at a WZ-113 GFT, it's one of the most armored vehicles in Tier 10. But even then, 2 HEs, I've already taken 700 of that vehicle's health away. That's a lot of damage. And every time they poke, I have the ability to do this. We still have one more standard HE. So the Rhino backs up. We've got another shell again. Okay, well there's the WZ poking for the 3rd time, and just like that, another 340 health. I don't know what this WZ expected. They got shot once, they poked again, got shot again, and then they couldn't really figure it out for the 3rd time that I was going to shoot them. So we've taken off now half of that player's health just by splashing them with high explosive, which is pretty nasty when you think about it. So what are we going to do here? Well, we got the Rhino, we get a nice clear, 187 damage. WZ tries to snap me. Obviously, they're pissed at me, but they don't end up hitting the shell, so I can't get mad. Alright, well, what are we going to do now? We got a T110E4 in mid, and we got the Kampf Panzer 70. Okay. Alright, maybe we can shoot the 7.52. I'm aiming on its lower plate. Pretty perfect shell. Misses. Bruh. The 183 is just so sus sometimes. And we went from full health to 234 in literally half a second. If that shot had hit the enemy the enemy 7.52 instead of being at 1,500 damage right now, I would have been at like 2,000, maybe 400, 500. But you know what? Let's fix that. Let's aim it on the enemy T100. Just like that, we are now at 3,359 damage. Yeah, I don't think that T100 enjoyed that very much. I don't think we end up dealing any more damage, but still, I just had to show this replay. The fact that we one-tapped a full health T100 with just a pen through the front, it is pretty crazy. So I'm not going to complain at all. But yeah, a decent start to the 183 experience, right? Next, that brings us over to our battle on Rockfield. And that was really the only game you're going to watch where we had a crazy, crazy result like that. Most of these games you're going to see here are more your normal 183 experience, where we get some chunks, we back into cover, we reload, we rinse and repeat. I actually didn't have any crazy high damage battles. Normally when you play this vehicle, you can rip out some really high damage games, right? In fact, I've done over 10,000 damage in the 183 back in the day. But the thing is that it just requires so much luck and so much to go in your favor for those types of games to occur. Where when you're driving something like a, T95E6, for example, it's much more reliable. But yeah, 950 damage into the enemy TVP, and that player's halved on their health. Just like that. Halved. Okay, well that's a good start to this battle. Let's reload, and let's see what else we can do. The Caro is going to shoot the standard B, and oh boy, yeah, our standard B did not do very good. I'm a little worried here because if we take a look, you'll notice that the IS-7 is right around this corner, same with the Emil too. And while I do want to make an aggression here and I do want to shoot the enemy, at the same time I'm just a little bit worried. But you know what? Yeah, buddy, there you go, 900 health off the enemy 183. I never feel bad at all about shooting 183s. In fact, it makes me quite happy. Being able to nuke an enemy 183, that's the whole joy of driving this vehicle. Punishing the players that are using it themselves. So we're up to 1800 damage now. Look at this. We got a fully exposed Lorraine 50 ton. Let's aim, aim, aim. Pretty perfect shot, right? Nope. Doesn't pen. Second time we've now been screwed over at shooting a tier 9. It's such a good example, though, of like where the 183 seems to really not favor me in terms of RNG. If that shot had penned, we would have been over 3,000 damage right now. And it's not that big of a deal, but it is definitely frustrating to watch what would have been a really easy pen just completely screw me over. But you know what? Let's change that. Ha 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 ha. 1,200 damage into the enemy Caro, putting me up to now 3,355 damage. Okay, well, what are we going to do here? Well, you want to see something crazy? You're about to watch the worst luck you've ever seen in your life. We're going to shoot at the enemy Emil 2. This is a tier 9 heavy. We're going to aim in pretty easily, right on the turret. Bounces off. I don't even know where it ricocheted. Maybe we can see exactly where it ricocheted. Looks like it hit the corner and somehow managed to bounce, which is, yeah, I can see it right there. It managed to hit that little panel and bounce off. So our first shot already screws us over. That sucks. Fine, fine. We'll reload. The Emil is still an easy target. The IS-7 should be able to clear the enemy Lorraine. So if we pen this Emil again, we should bring them down at least to a one-shot for the rest of our team to get the clear. So let's aim in. This time I'm going to give it a little bit more time. As you can clearly see, this Emil turret is a complete pen. Look at it. It is a complete pen everywhere. So let's aim in. Pretty easy shot, right? Aiming. Where does it go, dude? Where does it go? Right into the gun! Like, are you serious, Wargaming? Brother. This Emil 2 is the luckiest player. Just like that, we get screwed. I like how my teammate as well, in the 183, who's already dead, says, FV, you suck. I just type cry. There was nothing I could have done in that result to change that. It was not my fault. It was just bad RNG. But I figured I'd showcase this replay because of that. But of course, then we roll 1,112 into the enemy IS-7, which is still pretty dang wild. So at this point, we're up to 4,400 damage, and we get a bounce. Okay, that's not bad. Let's back up, and well, our team really managed to throw this game. I honestly think that if my shells did not bounce that Emil 2, I could have won this game. Not only could I have won this game, but I probably could have done a ridiculous amount of damage. Because I wouldn't have had to worry about these guys. I would have been able to push. I would have been able to support my team with the 183 off on the side over there. I think that I probably could have done easily 7,000 damage this game if we didn't get screwed like that. But oh well. We got the enemy IS-7, and they do drive over. We get an 1,100 damage shot, but there's one problem with the 183, and that's its reverse speed. The IS-7 rams me, bringing me from 640 to 455 health. And just like that, I'm done. If that IS-7 was not able to ram me, and I was hoping that he wouldn't high roll it, but he did. If that IS-7 was not able to ram me for that much damage, I would have been able to survive, kill the IS-7, and potentially take the TVP out of the game. But just like that, we get a heartbreak. A really, really unfortunate battle. We did 5,700 damage. We went up 8% on our mark, and it was our first gun mark achieved. But it's just so unfortunate to get into a result like that, and you end up losing because of a ram, right? I mean, I could have done, I mean, everything in that battle just seemed to really screw me over. Mainly that Emil too. That really ticked me off. If we'd penned that Emil too, I really do think we could have done maybe even more than 7,000 damage. I mean, we were at 5,700 already. If we'd hit the Emil just once, we would have done 6,700. The TVP, we could have done 7,700. I mean, that literally could have been like an 8K game. And that shows you just how easy it can be for the 183 to rip out crazy high damage. But at the same time, it's just so RNG dependent, right? As a skilled player, I hate driving the 183 because as a skilled player, I am reliant on my shells going where I aim them. And when they don't, and you're banking so much of your capabilities on that shell penning, it really screws you over. So for a 40%er, the 183 is great, right? If you're bad at the game, you just get lucky every now and then, you hit a shot, and even if you only pen 2 shots a game, that's 2,000 damage. But as a player who is much, much more reliant on my gun working and being reliable, when you get a game like that last one where it just doesn't do what you want it to, it's not very good. But we're up to 912 damage already, and we've shot the enemy E100. Unfortunately, we've lost 1,000 health in return because we also got shot in the crossing. Real bummer. Now we can see the enemy 183. They're looking at my teammate, so we're going to aim it on the 183, and there you go. 1,033 damage into their tank. And just like that, 2 shots, 2,000 damage. That's all it takes. Just 2 shots, and you've already done 2,000. So, again, we reload. And we wait. So far, this has been a pretty decent battle. I don't mind bleeding health if I'm able to deal a lot in return, right? Take a 400 alpha tank, for example. It takes them, what, 4, 5, 6 shells to reliably even take me out? It's usually about 6 shells. Well, not 6, more like 5, because 4 times 5 is 2,000. So yeah, sorry, my brain died there for a second. But yeah, it's going to take about 5 shells to kill the 183 with a 400 alpha tank. 5 shells from this vehicle is 5,000 damage. So you can basically win the trade with anything. So we got the enemy 183. They're not looking at me. So I slam the shell into them, and I take them out of the battle. 2,300 damage now, and we're going to back up and reload. So 2 more seconds. We got our shell back. Here we go. And come on, let me hit that. Let me hit that. Boom. Dang it. I was really hoping we could get that kill. Even if it wasn't much damage, just getting a kill, especially when you're trying to gun mark, it does give you a lot of XP, which is something that you'll always want to take advantage of. So here we go, reloading again. We have the enemy leopard all the way in the back corner. And what else is going on? They have 4 tanks left, and we got the enemy E6 crossing, but they're not going to go up. I was hoping for a second they'd go up, but you know what? Wait a second. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Bonk. Could have probably hashed them, but honestly, I don't even need to risk it. I'll just fire a standard shell and roll 1,000 anyway, dealing now over 3,400 damage. Pretty good stuff. Let's move up. And boom! The E6 crosses again, allowing us to get the clear, now over 4,000 damage. Pretty good. Alright, well, there's obviously still a lot of HP left. We got a full health 50 TP. Oof, the leopard's on my side, though. I can't get shot again by the leopard, or I'll be a one-shot to every single player on the enemy team. But there's only one tank I've got my eyes set on, and that's the enemy Waffenfeiger Ritter. I was thinking about crossing, but oh no, back up. Oh, are you kidding me? The leopard hits that? Bruh. Alright, well, we got to focus on hitting this Ritter. With a standard HE, even if that player's running Spall Liner, I can still roll over 1,200. So let's see. Aiming, and ooh, really? 914. That is the worst roll I've ever seen in my life. 914. Listen, don't get me wrong. Spall Liner does reduce the amount of damage received by a high explosive. But this thing has almost 1,500 average damage with its HE when firing standard. So even if you're subtracting 30% of that, I still should have rolled over 1,000. It's crazy how bad that roll was. But you know what? Whatever. We still penned him. We still did 5,000 damage. And we won. And that's really as important as it gets. We went up 5% on our mark this game, putting us up to 81.65%. We had a pretty overall enjoyable experience. So that was on Canyon. Now that brings us over to Nube. Now Nube is, it's sometimes good, it's sometimes bad for the 183. It really depends on which spawn you get. If you get the spawn that I got, you have a flat advantage. And the reason why is very, very simple. You see, this spawn allows you to shoot players in the crossing. And you're going to see that here, right? If we pause really quickly, this spot here allows me to look at this crossing. And the problem is, the enemy team when they spawn over here, if they want to get into the park, they have to cross this opening, and then they can get over here. Where I am already in the park. It's unfair. I've talked about this in the past. It is completely unfair map design that this side of the map is able to get into position faster and shoot the crossing before the enemy team on the other spawn can. And you're going to see that here, right? I'm just going to get over here. I'm going to cross, and I'm just going to aim it in. There you go. Boom, 934 damage into the enemy 5A. Just like that, we've already ruined that player. And, like, it's just so dumb that our spawn gets the park to work. Look at all the tanks on our team, all working hull down. The enemy team doesn't get any of that. So, we reload, and we aim it on the 5A. Boom. Wanted to make sure that it would pen because I'd been getting trolled quite heavily by this gun at this point. So I made sure that it wouldn't hit any goofy angles and ricochet off. 2 shots, 1,500 damage. Okay, well, let's reload again. 3, 2, 1. All right, we got the enemy 57 heavy. Oh, we got the 183. I was going to try and HE him, but honestly, why even bother? We took 1,255 off of the standard AP, and I didn't bleed anything. And why spend that time trying to aim in a Hesh when I can just fire standard, back up, and be totally chill? We're already up to 2,800 damage anyway. I was a little worried about the enemy ball shots, but it looks like we're fine. However, what is this bat chat doing? Well, it looks like they're going to try and kill my Sheridan. So, boom. We snapped them. 236 damage. Not going to lie, I was really hoping I'd get that shell out before my Sheridan, because I still would have killed the bat chat. And after wargaming, changed the armor on the boss shots, and it's impossible to actually ricochet it. But it's okay. We're still at 3,000 damage now. We have the enemy 57 heavy in the crossing. And, okay, aiming. I hate shooting at 57, so I'm going to wait to fully aim in. And once we get that aiming circle to stop, boom, I slam the shell. 4,200 damage. So what do we have left? We got the 268 version 4, who somehow gets a bounce because, I don't know, the Foss just sucks, I guess. But yeah, we're going to aim it on the enemy V4. And we're going to aim it on the roof. You can overmatch the entire roof of the V4. So that's what we do. There you go. 1,000 damage into that player, dealing over 5,244, getting 3 kills. And again, another really, really solid result for this tank. Like, when you do get these types of games and your team doesn't fall apart immediately, it really does allow the 183 to just bully. So, there you go. We aced the vehicle. This may have been the only ace we had. I don't remember, but it was a pretty chill game overall. And it brought us up to 92.78% on our mark. Now, actually, that game there was one of the few games that brought my mark up so high. After that, my mark actually went down, unfortunately. And you can see I still have a bunch of starred games. So we got it up to like 93%, and then we had some really bad games. We had like a 600 damage battle after that, and it went all the way down like 3%. So all that percent I gained, I lost. And yeah, sorry. It's late at night, so I'm a bit tired, but we're getting this video recorded. So what do we have here? Up against us, we got a Leopard. I don't understand why players make those maneuvers. That enemy Leopard, very skilled player, averages over 4,000 damage, already 3 marked their Leopard. I know who they are. And I understand why they went there. It allows you to see the crossing, it gets you some early game shots, but at the same time, you're basically giving up the heavy flank. This IS-7, by the way, brother, are you serious? I was trying so hard to get an angle on that Type 68, and that IS-7 was doing his utmost hardest to make sure I couldn't hit that guy. He's literally working for the enemy team, but our RNG actually favors there and still allows us to hit the Type 68, even though we weren't fully aimed in. Once again, this IS-7 is like perfectly blocking the entire angle here, so I'm backing up as far as I can all the way over here. So now we're just waiting. We're waiting for the enemy AMX M454. Patience is key in the 183. You only need the pen 3 shots to deal 3,000 damage. So when you're in a game that is lasting a little bit longer, you don't need to play ridiculously over-aggressive. And there you go. The AMX is poking a little bit. Aiming, and boom! 1,116 damage into the AMX. We back up. We get a bounce from the enemy Leopard, and just like that, we've dealt 2,000 damage. Okay, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to reload, and we're going to figure out what the best game plan is here. That Leopard on the enemy team screwed up big time. They shot me, and they distracted me. They caught my attention because of this. And as I said, they're a player who averages 4,000 damage, but not anymore. 1,059 damage, taking that player out of the game, giving myself 3,000 damage now. As I keep saying, it doesn't matter how skilled you are at the game. All it takes is one shot from this vehicle to ruin your battle. me taking that Leopard out of the game took what would have been a potentially winnable game and threw it in the drain, right? I mean, our car was a one-tap. The 260 on our team was a one-tap. The Felice was probably a pretty easy farm. I legit think that if I wasn't in the 183 and I didn't nuke that player, they probably would have had a decent chance of winning. But as I said, all it takes is one douche in a 183 to completely ruin your chances of playing the game and having a fun experience. So we're up to 4,000 damage now. The enemy Ritter is obviously not too healthy, and that leaves us with just one tank left, the enemy T100LT. So are we going to be able to get the shell into this player? Well, we're going to find out. We're going to move up here, and we're going to keep moving up, Ooh, boom! There you go, 981 into the side of the T100, and just like that, 4,897 damage, and we gave ourselves a kill. This game here was one of those situations where the 183 just bullied, right? I mean, we were able to get into the town, we were able to take out the Type 68 and AMX M4, and then we were able to also shoot the Leopard, completely clearing them from the game. It really just, it's so dumb when you can get away with things like that. And as I said, this is a really, really skilled player, but it doesn't matter how good you are when all it takes is one bozo and a 183 to ruin your experience. So that game was on Vineyards. We still have, what? 2 games left in the 183? I was about to say 6, but no, we only got 2 games left here to look at. So now that brings us over to Fort Despair. I actually really like Fort Despair for this vehicle. And the simple reason why is because it has a lot of close quarters combat where you can use this tank as a city fighting vehicle. I actually like city maps for the 183. It gives you a lot of cover to poke, get a quick shot, back into cover. And that's exactly what we are going to do in this battle. By the way, it took me 3 back-to-back 5K battles to 3-mark the 183. So that game you watched on Vineyards was the first of 3 subsequent 5K games. This is the second, and then the final game you're going to watch will be the last battle required to 3-mark this vehicle. But yeah, as I was telling my chat, like, all you need is a couple good games in the 183 to 3-mark it. It's not a necessarily hard tank, but the beginning of this battle really ticked me off because we got the AMX 50B and, brother, 1700 damage ammo rack. A 183 is drooling at the sight of a 50B. It really is. And I had no actual tanks that were going to stop me either. I could have pushed up on that 50B, gotten a standard HE, and rolled 1500 damage. But damn, bro, 50B just plays awful and gets obliterated immediately. That sucks. All right, well, let's aim it on the 268 version 4. And boom, 1,018 damage into that player. And we end up capturing the base. That is 2 wins in a row. We also get a bouncing shell from the 268 V4 because they shoot my track. Not sure why they even fired that, but I'm not going to complain. That's 1,000 damage now dealt. And can I hit the 268? I don't think so. It's so dumb that one penning shell into that player brought them from 1,850 to 800 health. It's just so stupid. Now, the reason I wasn't pushing up here, you can see I'm playing really passive. The reason why is because I know they have a bunch of vehicles sitting off to my right that will nuke me if I try to make an aggression. We can see that right here. We got the Chieftain. Actually, is it a Chieftain? I think it's just a 215B. But we aim it on the U100. 1,120 damage. 2 shots, 2,138. That's a grill, though. Okay, the grill shoots my T100. And we're just going to keep waiting here. We can see the 215B. We can see the enemy boss Shotzion. And what I'm going to do right now, so I'm going to poke that 215B. The 215B's major weakness is reverse speed. It only reverses at like 12. So we can aim it on their lower plate just like this, and boom, 1147. It is a big low roll, but we still take half of that player's health off. And just like that, 3 pens, 3,285 damage. This here is the perfect example of where the 183 is so stupid. And the funny part is, I didn't even do bad on the 183 the whole stream. So let's aim in on the enemy 215B again. Aiming, and load in another Heschel. Boom! 1438 max roll into that player. We are now at 4,700 damage, and we 2-shot a freaking heavy. It's just so dumb. Yes, did the 215B make mistakes? Sure. Did that player deserve to be shot twice and have their entire game stripped away from them? I don't think so. I really don't think so. We got the enemy Sheridan. Boom! 255, taking that player out of the game, and we do not get any more damage at this point. But we still ended up dealing 5,000 damage and just bullying every single player up against us. It's such a shame that the 50B decided to just die. But hey, we got an ace, so that's pretty nice. I guess we did ace the 183 2 times. But yeah, every now and then you get a crazy game, and this battle alone brought us up to 94.73 on the marking requirements, which brings us to the final game in the one. Actually, no, two more games in the 183. We got one on Lagoon and then one on Himmelsdorf. Interesting. Well, if we were at 94.73, then I guess I don't know. Either way, we got two more games. So, or no, maybe it's this last game. Yeah, the Himmelsdorf game was on the Felice. My brain's dying. I'm sorry, guys. This was the last game that it took us to 3-mark the 183. So what are we going to do? Well, Lagoon, there's really only one spot I'm ever going to drive my vehicle to, and that is the overlook right here. The simple reason is simple, right? This overlook allows me to shoot tanks when they make over-aggressions, when they make pokes, when they make bad plays. We can see that there's an enemy 116 F3, and that player is going to hate me. Remember how I was talking earlier about splashing with HE? Well, I load an HE, and it goes right where I aim, 600 damage. Why bother trying to shoot the 116 and pen a shell that is very unreliable when I can just load HE, deal 60% of what would have been the damage? And by the way, the 116 puts on reactive. With reactive, I'd only roll about 700 anyway, so I can just load an HE again, and boom, 492 into the 116. 2 shots, 1,100 hit points have been taken off that player. We have stripped half of that player's health off. No skill 183. Well, evidently I am doing a good job at ruining your game. But yeah, that's why the 183 is so stupid. It doesn't require skill. I just load HE. I slam it into his tank, and he loses a big chunk of his health. Look at this. 116 pokes again. 614 damage into his player. 3 shots. 1,700 HP taken off of them. I'm dealing the same damage as a T110E4, a Grill 15, and I'm loading HE. I'm not even needing to actually aim. It's just ridiculous. So, we got the enemy 57 heavy over here. Now, this is where you're going to watch bad RNG occur, right? 57 heavy drives out in the open. Now, I have a perfectly aimed shot. Shell's going exactly where I want it to. And somehow, it doesn't pen because it goes into the track. If I had fired an AP shell, I would have been at 2,700 damage right now. But because I took the risk and I loaded Hesh, I only did 300. It's such a good example of where Hesh is so unreliable sometimes, and firing standard just seems to be the better choice most of the games you play. But we're going to load a standard shell into the 57 heavy, and we're going to take them out of the game, putting us up to now 2,800 damage. Okay, not bad. What do we have left? We got a 116, we got the E6, we got a 183, and, well, a Kron. So let's see if we can get any more damage here. I'm going to start by trying to take this 116 F3 out of the battle. We can see that right now, they're not even facing me. We're just going to keep going, keep going. Come on. Speed, speed, speed. Go, 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 go. Will we get the shell into the 116? And yeah, like reactive's going to save you. We take them right out of the game, bringing ourselves over 3,000 damage. Now, I heard the enemy 183 shoot. I'm pretty sure I did. So at this point, I'm not really scared. I have full health. But obviously, if the 183 does shoot me with a Hesh shell, it'll bring me down to a 1-tap for the Kron. But there you go. We get the clear. And now, all that's left is the enemy Kron. So we reload. 513 max roll into my vehicle. 935 damage, and I don't care. I really do not care. This Kron will not be able to do anything. We're going to load a Hesh shell. We're going to aim in right on the Kron. Boom. 868. Pretty good stuff. 4,687 damage. 4 kills. And let's take a look at the post-game results. Come on, Wargaming. Give me that result. There you go. We ended up getting our 3rd mark. We didn't ace it, but still a pretty good game. Overall today, I went 70% in the 183 solo. We ended up going around 3,200, 3,300 average damage. Nothing crazy, but it's not really easy to average a lot of damage in the 183. It's one of those vehicles that does require just luck. That's as simple as it is. Yes, skill is involved. A lot of the games you watched me play here did involve a lot of skill. But there were plenty of games where I got absolutely obliterated immediately because my RNG didn't work. And even that one game on Rockfield you watched, the gun screwed me over on that in Mill. Could have been a 8,000 damage game. And all because of a little bit of bad RNG, I got screwed. But that is the life of the 183. If you're driving this vehicle expecting to carry games, don't. That's as simple as it is. But it is a fun tank, and I had a lot of fun playing in it. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video, and if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure to smash that subscribe button. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.